Hey, comic lovers, EMoney and the old man back with you again. So you may notice someone is missing here.
You may notice it's a ginormous beast. It's
Yeah.
a hound. It's a dog of doom. I mean, what are you talking about?
Well,
Notice.
Thor couldn't be with us this week. Scheduling conflicts prevented us from being able to film with him. So he's going to be back with us next week.
Great. So we skip a week, and when he sees me again, he's probably going to want to chew my hand off.
Could be. All right, so today we are talking about comic books from also the scheduling conflicts is why this is coming a day late. So sorry about that.
He's goofing off again.
I was working.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, so we are talking about last week's comic books and this week's comic book previews. And also, I have a special treat in honor of Halloween. We are doing a Halloween-themed Movie-ism. So, no Stump the Old Man this week. All right, kids. So, when you're picking out your costumes for Halloween coming up, superheroes get more candy. These are just facts. This is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers. So before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of these comics or give us some recommendations. All right, so first we are going to do our mentions this week, ones that didn't make it into the top 3, but we thought were perhaps noteworthy. So remember how we do this. We do this on a 5-shield rating system. We each give each comic 2 scores, one for writing and story and the other one for artwork. And then we combine those 4 scores together to give it an average overall score. All right, so mentions first.
All right. Mentions. First up, the United States of Captain America number 5, which I believe is the last of the series. I thought it was a pretty good story.
All right, so in this conclusion to this story, the Nazi group that is trying to discredit the name of Captain America and make Captain America's shield synonymous with anti-American sentiment and hate. Captain America, Steve Rogers, fights back against them, and in the beginning we have a collection of Captain America's going up against the Nazis. You have Steve Rogers, you have Sam Wilson, and you have John Walker. Also, you have Bucky, aka Winter Soldier, with them. And if you've been reading, you recall they've met several people who call themselves Captain Americas throughout the United States, hence the United States of Captain America. And in the epic conclusion to this story, you see, remember the portal scene from Avengers Endgame? It has the same kind of feeling to it, only with all Captain Americas.
Well, not quite as grandiose.
Well, no, of course not. I
still.
mean, who could ever match that? But it's still the same kind of feeling.
It reminded me of an old school James Bond ending. Everybody shows up at the end to help the good guys kick ass.
I miss that. You know, the old Sean Connery and maybe 1 or 2 Roger Moore movies where, you know, Bond is up against the all the bad guys and surrounded, and then the kind of techno music jumps in, and the good guys are crashing through the ceiling and everything. And there was an epic scene in Thunderball where that happened, the underwater battle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you know, that's neither here nor there. Conclusion to the United States of Captain America, pretty great stuff. Comes in at 3.5 shields.
Correct.
Out of 5.
All right, next one we want to talk about is a Black Label comic from DC, Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham, number 2.
All right, so you may recall me talking about the first issue in this series, where when Batman calls for Stephanie and I think Tim to join him at the crime scene, everyone is dressed as Robin. And, you know, you had Dick Grayson, you had Tim, you had Stephanie, everyone is dressed up as a Robin. It's like, how do you sort that out on your communications? Well, as it turns out, it's more than just the people who have been Robin in the irregular comics who are in this organization. I mean, in the regular comics, I would say, Batman has kind of a squad of people, hence the Bat family. Mm-hmm. But in this version, it's like he has a small army.
He's got like a Robin Academy.
Yeah. Dick Grayson leads the academy, and so when you sign up, I don't know how they recruit these kids, but when they sign up, they are eggs. So then they graduate to the next level, and they become chicks, and then eventually they become Robins. So he has his own little Robin army in this version of events. So on to the main story here. Bigby, aka who I assume is the wolf in Gotham that we're talking about, he escaped the Batcave that Batman captured him and put him in at the beginning of the issue, and he's running his own investigation as to what's happening in Gotham, and obviously he has different methods than Bruce does, but much like Bruce, he's nobody's fool, and he and Bruce meet each other, and you have two alphas trying to come to some kind of common ground. So, interesting story development in this one. Eager to see what happens next. Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham by Black Label, number 2, comes in at 3.5?
Yep.
3.5 shields out of 5. All right. Our last mention this week.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do. All right, as you can see, the old man has some disdain for this issue. If you know the old man, you might know why based on the cover. He's never been a big fan of pet superheroes in general.
I'm okay with Crypto.
Okay.
Because Crypto's a dog.
Mm.
Doesn't talk. He's a dog with superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
This is a freaking reptile that talks.
Mm.
This is one of the reasons that comic book readers are shunned and embarrassed.
All right.
Frog of thunder my ass.
All right. So Thor number 18. So at the end of the previous issue, Mjolnir has been stolen from Avengers Tower, and so Thor is scrambling to get people to help him and find out what is going on. So, in one scene, he comes to Throg's swamp and asks him if he could help him find it. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is...
One thing that's interesting is the hammer was in safekeeping at Avengers Tower. Now, to misquote the late, great Jim Croce, you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind, you don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't steal Mjolnir out of Avengers Tower.
All right, so Thor comes to Throg's swamp to ask for his help, and look at this picture when he first arrives.
Oops.
What's that he's holding there? Like, why did you come here in the first place? I mean, Throg could just be like, Thor, it's right there.
Look in your hand, fool.
Right.
It's right there.
I mean, is this one of those things where it's like your glasses are on top of your head and you just don't realize it? So
all I know is that I've read once you pointed that out, I went back and read leading up to that.
Mm-hmm.
I see no reason that he should have that in his hand.
Yeah. So he has the hammer in his hand, and then he turned to the next page where he's talking to Throg, and Throg says, "Mjolnir has been stolen. You need me to find it for you."
Now, if we miss something, which it's possible, put something in the comments and tell us what we missed.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it was an editorial error, a glaring editorial error. But
usually I don't see comic book creators make those kind of mistakes.
All right, so later in the issue, Throg decides he will help him find Mjolnir, but he needs to assemble a team to help him do it. And so Throg assembles. Do you remember the Super Pets from DC? Crypto and Ace the Bat Hound, and I think there was a Bat Cow in there somewhere. Well, Throg kind of assembles a similar animal team Marvel version.
Well, it's not the first time he's done it. There's actually a mini-series and a special where Throg and, Lockjaw and Lockheed and the cat.
Goose.
I guess. I didn't read it. And I assume it's Falcon's bird. What's the bird's name?
Falcon's bird.
Yeah, Falcon's bird is in it. I mean, this one you got the crows instead of Falcon's bird.
And you also have one that I didn't know about until recently. Doctor Strange's ghost dog.
Of course he has a ghost dog.
Yeah, his ghost bloodhound. So he assembles the team and he says, "You will know us as Avengers." So not an Avengers team I've ever known, but okay. You can see how excited the old man is about the next issue. All right, so Thor number 18, despite the glaring editorial issue, comes in at...
Oh, who cares? After rounding 3.5 shields, thanks to your generous scoring.
3.5 shields out of 5. All right, so there's our mentions for this week. Don't blame Batman Bigby.
I thought it was Thor.
All right, so now it's time for our top 3 for the week.
All right, and this week we had a tie, and we couldn't decide what kind of contest, so we went with the show we just finished watching, and we played Squid Game. Now, we decided that I'd be on defense, and EMoney would be on offense, and yeah, he just blew right on past me like I wasn't there, so it was a waste of time. But so he got to pick how numbers 2 and 3, what order they came in, and if you know EMoney, there was no doubt which one he was going to pick to be number 2. But the one he didn't pick to be number 2, the one that is number 3 amongst all 3 of these non-DC and non-Marvel comics, was Image's Hellcop number 1.
All right, so, and this issue is something that I feel like Guillermo del Toro might have come up with.
Good stuff.
I checked, he didn't, but it seems like it could have come from his mind.
But if he wants to get involved in some sort of movie project, he's the man.
Yep. All right, so in this story, you have Men in Black who are the extraterrestrial cops on Earth. RIPD handle, rogue ghosts on Earth. Well, the Hellcops, they handle interdimensional demon-type creatures on Earth.
Because supposedly there's ways for these other dimensions that they can slip into our world.
Right. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes they just do it by accident.
Oops.
Like they mentioned that, you know how you have sightings of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster?
That's what happened.
Well, they just kind of slip into our plane of existence. They walk around a little bit and then they slip back into a pocket dimension back the other way.
Yeah, because who would want to stay here?
Right, and that's why they leave no evidence. So our hero, our cop that we follow, he goes about his normal job and he finds an amulet that no one can identify, and the demon he arrested won't tell him what it is. And he goes around to some of his civilian informants, asking them what it is. No one seems to be able to help him. And finally, his partner calls him up, says she may have found something. And the story kind of takes a 180 turn from there. So, interesting stuff. See what happens next. Hellcop number 1 comes in at...
Let's see, it was rounded up to 4 shields.
4 shields out of 5.
Good science fiction stuff. If you want a non-superhero book, give it a shot. All right. Now, right up EMoney's alley, we have from Dark Horse Comics, the Orville Artifacts number 1 out of a 2-issue miniseries.
All right. So, given that the Orville Season 3 is in kind of editing limbo right now, waiting for it to come out, it's nice to have a Orville title coming out to tide us over. So, the artwork I thought is pretty excellent. I mean, it's the, very likeness of all the characters from the show.
Yeah. They do a good job making characters in the comic book match up with the real life characters.
Mm-hmm. So they're on a space station getting refueled and whatnot, and Captain Mercer comes across one of his old professors. The professor is trying to get a space science expedition off the ground, and he asked Mercer if he would allow him to use the Orville for it, which is part of what the Orville is for.
Yeah.
And the more they learn about his proposed expedition, the more dangerous it looks. He wants to take the ship into a system that has 4 stars in it. And the gravitational pull surrounding these 4 stars make it virtually impossible to navigate a ship through this system. So the professor gives this proposal, and the reason he wants to do this is that he believes an ancient alien civilization has part of their fleet camped out somewhere hidden in this system.
Something that we ought to know about.
Mm-hmm. So he runs it through Isaac, their science officer, and he thinks that the risk is plausible enough that they get a go from Admiral Halsey to go ahead with the expedition. Well, they when they first try to go into the system, I don't know how you could go exactly according to plan, but it hardly goes well at all. And the professor, when they want to back out, he commandeers the ship momentarily, and it's enough to put them in further danger and unable to back out. So once they get power and navigation back online, they realize something startling as to where they are in the system. So that's how this issue ends, and exciting stuff here. I love the Orville. It's so much more than what we expected it to be when it first came out.
I thought it was just going to be lighthearted comedy.
We thought it was going to be a straight up Star Trek parody. And the thing was, Fox presented it that way in the previews. Mm-hmm. You thought it was just going to be just all...
It's Seth MacFarlane. You don't expect anything but really good, funny stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's without its comic relief. Of course it does. But, it's just such great science fiction.
They've had episodes in that show that were almost no comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
It was very... I won't say it was hardcore science fiction, but it was definitely a lot more than what we expected.
I don't know. Some of the plot lines that Seth and the writers come up with, a lot of times it feels like old school Star Trek.
Yep.
Like, Gene Roddenberry stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, it's great stuff. I can't wait to see season 3, but also looking forward to the next issue here. Yep. The Orville Artifacts Part 1 of 2 comes in at 4 shields out of 5.
Now, number 1 book of this last week. It's a comic that way back a few months ago when number 1 came out, I was going to skip it, but Jacob at Comic Book World, our LCS, recommended that I give it a read. He said, "Do you like robots?" I said, I guess as much as anybody. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, give it a shot." And I did. It's been in the top 3 every issue. So here we have from AWA, Not All Robots, number 3.
All right. So, Not All Robots, it comes from almost the same team that brought us Redemption, the post-apocalyptic Western series that the old man and I enjoyed. Yeah, the one I say Linda Hamilton plays the lead because it's obviously her in the issue. All right, so in this issue, tensions between robots and humans are at an all-time high. The robot responsible for the mass murder of the Orlando bubble was acquitted. So, and they're reaching a boiling point here. So the robot manufacturing company responsible for putting out all these robots thinks, let's go ahead with our Mandroid program.
Of course.
Let's double down on the problem. So Mandroids are robots who look exactly like humans. They say they're virtually indistinguishable from regular humans. And so not only is that, I would think it's going to create mistrust between humans and robots even further, but it's going to make the regular robots feel obsolete.
Which they would be.
And start, yeah, I mean, they're going to start getting replaced as household robots. So we see the family we're following and what they're going to be doing about it, and also how their house robot is responding to the problem. So, good story development, great artwork here. Not all robots. Number 3, our number 1 pick for this week, coming in at a solid 4 shields out of 5.
Yep, good stuff.
All right, so that is last week's comic review. So what do we have going on this week?
Well, this week there's a couple of books coming out that the rest of the world will probably get excited about. Gunslinger Spawn number 1. I mean, we rarely read Spawn at all.
Yeah.
So I picked up number 1 because I felt obligated to. I'm not sure how much we'll like it, but I am going to get it. And another one that's kind of the same thing is House of Slaughter number 1, which is a prequel to Something That's Killing the Children. Well, we read the first Something That's Killing the Children, and I didn't get it. I mean, I didn't know what the hoopla was about, so odds are we're not really going to think this is great. But once again, felt obligated to order that one. Now, the books that are coming out that I know that I can't say I know we're going to like them, but I know we're looking forward
Pretty
to.
confident.
Yeah, is Daredevil number 35 comes out. That's been a solid story for many issues. Detective Comics 1044. Just all the Bat books are solid, but Detective seems to be probably the best of the run. And then a new title, pretty sure it's a miniseries, DC versus Vampires. #1.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen the ads for that. It just looks very interesting.
Yeah.
So that's coming out this week.
All right. So normally this would be the time where I say we're going to head up into the garage with Thor.
No, we're not. No Thor.
Yeah, Thor's not with us this week.
Ain't that a
so
shame?
we're just going to roll into this week's Movie-ism. All right. So in honor of Halloween coming up in a few days, we have something that, usually when I do Movie-isms, I try to make them, superhero or comic book centric. But we're going to go rogue this week and do something that's Halloween centric. This is one I like to call Failure to Finish.
Oh.
This is something that so many scary horror movies are guilty of. This is when the last girl, some random dude, whoever, gets the drop on the killer, the monster, whatever it is, and they have him down and they don't finish him off. Like, why would you do that? Do something. Like, perfect example. Go all the way back to 1978, the first Halloween movie. Laurie Strode gets attacked by Michael Myers, and she manages to stab him in the neck with a pair of sewing needles, right?
Sewing needles. Ain't no joke.
Granted, big sewing needles, but sewing needles. So he goes down, she gets a hold of his knife, and then she drops it. Doesn't do anything.
I'm using that sucker.
And then she goes up and checks on the kids, and the kids, who are apparently smarter than she is, says, "You can't kill the boogeyman with sewing needles." And then Michael gets back up and comes at her again. And this happens so many times in movies. Like, one that is been mostly forgotten. It came out back in 2014, but one that kind of stuck with me. No Good Deed with Taraji P Henson. So the intruder that she unknowingly let into her house.
Wasn't that Idris Elba?
Yes.
Good actor.
Oh, yeah. So she manages to get the drop on him, hits him, sprays him first with a fire extinguisher, then takes the canister and hits him in the face. He falls down the stairs, and she has the opportunity to just smash him into a pile of goo. But no, she puts the fire extinguisher down and grabs her kids trying to get out of the house. And, of course, by this time, Idris Elba has gotten back up and is blocking her exit. And this also happened in the new Halloween movie. Spoiler alert.
You heard him, right? Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. If you haven't seen the movie yet, that just came out like a week ago, you probably want to fast forward a few seconds.
A few minutes, whatever. All right, so new Halloween movie. Laurie Strode's daughter, played by Judy Greer, gets the drop on Michael again, manages to stab him in the back with a pitchfork, and instead of just until he's nothing, she lures him outside with the rest of the townsfolk.
Now, what do the townsfolk do?
He
They
beat him down. Beat him down in the street.
Now, if I remember right, a couple of these townsfolk had guns.
Yep.
Now, which one of them went up and shot him in the head?
Well, one of the cops tried to. Side note here, the guy who does the pitch meetings made a good point, and he's like, the townspeople are all confronting Michael, and only a handful of them had guns. And he's like, well, this is a small town in America. Not a lot of people have guns. Anyways, so one guy, he gets in real close, empties his clip into his chest, while the other people, hit him with bats and clubs and stuff. And then once he's down, instead of everyone like gathering around and just smashing him into goo, they have one cop try and come up to him and shoot him in the head, to which Michael, of course, gets his second wind at that point. Failure to finish. That's what it is. If you're ever confronted by an intruder, even if it's, not a supernatural intruder, you get him down on the ground, you beat the snot out of him until there's no earthly way they can get back up, okay? All right? Advice for life. All right, people? Finish it. Anyways, all right, so that is our movie-ism for this week. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Back Issues. We're going to be back next week with Thor, and we're going to have our comic reviews and previews for you. Am I going to do a movie-ism again? I don't know. All right, so if you're going out for Halloween in a few days, if you're an adult going out to a party, if you're a kid going trick-or-treating, remember, be safe out there. Kids, stay with your adult. Take flashlights with you. If your parents tell you to wear a jacket over your costume, I know it sucks because you got the perfect costume. You want people to see it, but you know what? It's probably going to be cold out there, so listen to your parents, all right? All right, we'll see you guys next week. Excelsior.
True believers, ration the candy. Spread it out over days. Not gonna do that.
Don't eat all the big bars first. Mix in some
big bars.
Yeah, or fun size bars. Don't neglect all of the the suckers and the hard candy and stuff like that, where that's all you have left in come November.
Well, if you do go ahead and eat all this in the first night, can I talk to you about type 2 diabetes?